also once observed that the shortest route between A and B is a straight line.
Great advice, unless you're sharing the roads and highways with several thousand of your closest friends heading in any number of directions.
So, round about 2004, some streetwise sage in Waterloo region had an idea.
Create a roundabout to improve traffic flow and reduce head-on and perpendicular collisions.
And, as a bonus, help the environment by keeping traffic flowing instead of idling at intersections. Which brings us to one big honkin' question.
How the heck do you drive in a roundabout?
So you want to get from A to B.
There's this circly roundy thingy in your way.
Okay, don't panic.
It's easy peasy once you take in a few simple tips.
Beginning with the most important of all.
The prime directive.
The golden rule of roundabouts.
The big kahuna.
One word, yield.
To other vehicles.
And to pedestrians.
When you approach a roundabout, say to yourself, "Self, I should always slow down and be ready to stop when driving through a roundabout."
When you're prepared to yield, everything else falls into place.
Now, take the wheel and we'll take you step by step to driving in a roundabout.
Job one when you approach a roundabout is to make a plan.
As you approach the roundabout, give those cranial tumblers a turn and plan your route.
Think about which lane you'll take. Think about signaling, we'll get to that shortly, and think about where you're going to exit.
And as always, be ready to... Anyone?
Yield? Yield?
Exactly.
There are a lot of signs near a roundabout, but then there are a lot of letters in the alphabet, but you managed to remember them.
The first one you'll see is this, a little heads up, telling you there's a roundabout just ahead, and it's time to hatch that plan, which is why it is fortuitous that your next sign
is this guy, a roundabout guide, your mini roadmap of the particular roundabout you're about to enter. In this case, the sign tells you you're approaching the cross streets of Block Line and Homer Watson Boulevard with a choice of count them, 4 exits.
This one's nifty, a lane designation sign. It lets you know which lane can and which can't get you where you're going. In this case, if you want to exit on the left, or even head the way you came, you want to take the left lane. If you want to take your exit on the right, only the right lane will get you there. If you're going straight, any lane is just hunky-dory.
Which is a good time to mention that with many roundabouts, such as this one, it's okay to exit from an inside lane, provided you stay in your lane and signal your intent.
More on signaling shortly.
At the beginning of the roundabout, a pedestrian crossing sign reminds you to watch for foot traffic, which means you should, as always, anticipate pedestrians, which means you should be ready to...
Yield?
Yeah.
Next is this baby, the good old yield sign.
And no, you can't be reminded often enough that driving in a roundabout means slow down and be ready to stop.
One-way signs confirm what most of us already know, that roundabouts are a counterclockwise proposition and that swimming against the current is a major no-no.
Once in the roundabout, these flag exit signs will confirm which exits you're approaching.
And finally, your last caution and warning sign marking a pedestrian crossing.
Which, by now, you've become oh so good at anticipating. So, what about signaling?
What are the rules for signaling in a roundabout?
Bear in mind that a roundabout is, by definition, a form of intersection, so you would signal just as you would at an intersection.
So that's it.
Almost.
So that's almost it.
The one difference is, in a roundabout, you always signal right when you're approaching your exit.
So if you're turning right, you signal right. If you're taking the exit to the left, you signal left as you enter the roundabout and keep signaling left until you are approaching your exit. Then signal right to show other drivers and pedestrians you're leaving.
And if you're going straight, you don't signal until you are approaching your exit, and then you signal right. Get it?
Got it.
Good.
Ask me anything.
Okay. How do you signal if you're using the roundabout to make a U-turn?
Ask me anything else.
You do the same thing as you would with a left turn. Signal left as you enter the roundabout, then, when your exit is next, signal right.
I knew that.
Also filed under B for Bet You Didn't Know That is a set of roundabout guidelines that apply only to large trucks.
Here's a truck driver to explain. Kevin?
Thanks, Lucas. The guidelines for trucks and roundabouts are different for the very reason you'd probably suspect. They're bigger. And they don't fit easily onto roundabout spaces made to move smaller cars efficiently. When a large truck enters a multi-lane roundabout, it's going to straddle 2 lanes. In fact, as you approach any roundabout, you should anticipate the need to straddle lanes. Like other vehicles, large trucks must enter the roundabout slowly. Unlike the others, it's going to require more space. The reason? To discourage cars from driving beside them or trying to pass them. When a truck drives in a 3-lane roundabout, here's the guideline. If it's turning left, the truck should straddle the inner and middle lanes. If it's going straight through or turning right, it should straddle the outer and middle lanes. Taking up those 2 lanes discourages motorists from driving alongside a big truck, which could easily lead to a sideswipe collision, which is nobody's idea of a good time. Lucas?
Thanks, Kevin. As for 2-legged vehicles, roundabouts represent terra incognita.
But, as with vehicles, crossing at a roundabout is safe. And yes, easy. Once you've learned a few simple steps.
When crossing at a roundabout, first things first, always cross at the marked pedestrian crossings. Never, with a capital N, cross to the middle.
Body language is everything. You need cars to know you're intent on crossing. So first, step to the curb and point. Then, make eye contact with any approaching vehicles.
Watch for a break in the traffic, and when you cross, make sure any approaching drivers are going to stop for you. Keep pointing.
Once it's safe, cross briskly and deliberately. Now's a good time to watch for drivers in the next lane and make sure they're going to stop.
Stop and wait when you reach a pedestrian island. To continue crossing, rinse and repeat.
Let's go back to the subject of signaling for a moment and ask, why is it important to signal in a roundabout?
Think of signaling as the way vehicles talk to each other. This conversation is especially important in roundabouts.
For instance, when you're driving through a roundabout while signaling left, you're telling downstream motorists and pedestrians that you aren't exiting just yet. Thanks for asking. Letting them know your intention helps them determine the safest time to enter.
When you use no signal, that tells motorists and pedestrians downstream that you are driving straight through and that entering motorists must yield to you because you'll be exiting shortly.
Signaling right tells downstream motorists and pedestrians that you're making your exit, and it's safe for them to enter with caution.
And in a perfect world, that's how roundabout driving works. In a perfect world.
And what, with the world not being perfect? And what, with the world not being perfect, you'll want to watch for others who are yet to master roundabout driving.
To put it another way, roundabouts are all about defensive driving, which boils down to a few simple ideas.
Avoid driving besides large vehicles.
Stagger your position in relation to others within the roundabout.
Know your signals. Keep an eagle eye out for all signaling from other vehicles to anticipate their intent.
Remember that motorists can exit roundabouts from any lane at any time. And remember, all drivers haven't yet mastered the concept, so anticipate incorrect turns. And last,
once more with feeling,
Yield!
To vehicles and pedestrians anywhere in the roundabout. Let's recap the basics of driving through a roundabout.
Make a plan, Stan, using the guide signs to choose a lane and be ready for your exit.
Signal, the same way you would through any intersection, adding a right signal as you approach your exit.
And above all, let's hear you in the cheap seats.
Yield! Slow down and get ready to stop for other vehicles and to pedestrians. It also means yielding to vehicles that are themselves yielding to pedestrians. So be ready for the car ahead of you to slow or stop.
Don't let anyone tell you roundabouts aren't easy peasy.
All it takes is a few pointers to get you from A to B smoothly and safely. So for now,
We'll see you, around.